Hello everyone, this is the second part of chapter 2. We were talking about input, output, processing, a little bit about operations. So here is operator precedence. If you've been around any sort of math classes, it's exactly the same. So parentheses first, then powers, then multiply, divide, this is integer division and remainder, and lowest precedence for plus and minus, and if all things are the same, then left to right. So a few more technical things, some of which will be helpful for your upcoming homework. First of all, data conversion. We have seen that the input function returns a string, and if we want to ask a user for a number and then work with it as a number, we will have to convert it to int or to a float. And we sometimes have implicit conversion, and this would be an example: float times int equals to float of implicit conversion. How does it work? Let me show you using idle what I mean. Okay, so my x will be 3, that's an integer type, and my y will be 2.21. Now I want to do x times y, which will multiply these two numbers. The result will be a float, that means a real number. Now for this computation, x is temporarily coerced or converted to a float, to a more general data type compared to the integer it is originally. So that would be converting it implicitly to a float. Now, there are sometimes reasons to do it explicitly, and you can do it like this: float of x, that is 3.0. 3.0, it's returned in this form for you to see that this is not an integer like it was originally. It is now a float. All right, and we can also turn it into a string. str of 3 will return a string. Now, let me make z, a variable z, equal to str of 3. And just for fun, do z plus z. It's not 6, it is 33, because now z is a string. I mean, it was defined as a string. And values are concatenated, just like if my z was QWERTY, z plus z plus z would be QWERTY, QWERTY, QWERTY. Okay, so mind your data types, and that is important. I showed an example of implicit conversion over here and explicit conversions over here. All right. Oh yes, maybe one more example while we're at it. Let's convert to int a number 2.7. The 2 is returned. We converted a float number, 2.7, and it's basically chopping it off. It's not rounded. If you want a number to be rounded properly, so I can use round 2.7. And by the way, whenever you type in a function, open parentheses, you can see the arguments for this function: number and n digits, that is the second argument. So say I want to convert 2 point many sevens to the third decimal. Well, the third decimal was converted to 8, just the common rules of, rounding. Just the common rules of rounding. So you can also round values. All right, so be careful with conversion. If you are converting to from a more broad data type like float to integer, you may be losing information. Okay, let me go back to the slides. Print. Print has two important arguments, and sep. And let me actually start a file, because that can be shown better in a file. And I will be playing with print function. Okay, let me type print, open parentheses, and here is a prompt what print can do. Print, of course, can print comma separated values. There is a separator, and there is and. Those are two arguments, so sep equals to something. This is what happens between the different values that you are printing. So I'm going to print hello world with comma in between. So I'm printing two strings, hello and world. And I'm doing it default behavior first. Now I'm copy pasting the same thing, except for I'm adding sep equals to, let's do pound signs. Let us see how it runs. Playing with print. Sep stands for separator. So the default separator is blank space, and we can change that by explicitly showing what my separator should be. In this case, 3 pound signs. So that gives you a little bit more flexibility with a printing statement. Let me print a little bit more. Just my name. Maybe you will remember it better. Vladimir Chainikov. And I have an argument and the argument and will be something other than what it is by default. \n means new line. Speaking of new, characters, escape characters, new line basically tells that in the end of the printing statement, you will advance to a new line. So my end will be, why don't we make it stars or dollar signs? Doesn't matter what it is. Next, print next line. Let's see how it will work. So my name was printed, like the first two lines did not change, I did not do anything. Now look at the third line. Print these two strings, my first name, last name, comma, and in the end of the line, instead of advancing to a new line, I have a bunch of these dollar signs and then next line, but it's not really the next line. So the default separator, which you don't have to show, is new line. And that way it will work the way you expect it. So after this printing statement is done, it will advance to a new line. Now, just for fun, let us copy this and do a few new lines, like 3 of them. Run. Okay. And maybe in the end I'll say something like print blah, just to show that there is another line. We'll see what this end will do. So I need to scroll it down. So notice the following. Everything else worked as previously. I did not change that. Then once again my first name, last name. and is 3 new line symbols. So every new line symbol advances by 1 line. So here I have advanced once, advanced another time, advanced the third time. So how many empty lines I created? 2. Okay. And just for fun, times 10. Let's rerun it. Blah, 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 10 times. This is, we're multiplying a string by 10 means repeating it 10 times, concatenating it with itself 10 times. So this is the meaning of sep and end. And that's another technical thing that we will need. It's not a big deal, but, oh, I guess better remember it. Now the escape characters. There are various escape characters. And the example for the escape characters, I guess I'll start a new example yet again. So I want to print something like, how's your day? Well, the color coding is already telling you that there is a problem. This is expected to be a variables. And in green, this is a part of a string, but then there is no, this quotation mark opened but never ended. And this is a string, that's good by itself, but the next thing is bad. Now, what if I want to have an apostrophe in the middle of my quotation mark? I do an escape character \apostrophe. That will literally print the apostrophe. Let's call this escape characters. And now it's printing how is your day with an escape character. Alternatively, I could avoid using escape character in this particular case by using double quotation marks, so different quotation marks to start and end my string. Then I can do an apostrophe without escape character. Okay. Now print something. New line symbol, a few blank spaces, something else. Just to remind you again about the new line symbol. What does it do? Something, advancing to a new line because of new line symbol, bunch of blank spaces, here they are, something else. And what are other important? So you can escape double quotation mark in a similar fashion, and you can print backslash. Tab is, maybe you'll see it on quizzes, it's not very often used. I'll create an example for the tab here, print. First of all, I need an example for slash. So how many slashes will this print? Think for a moment, you may pause the video. This will print 2. 2 slashes. So escape character slash escape character slash. So this prints 2 slashes. 2 backslashes. All right, and then I'll do a tab Tab, I think, is a legacy thing at this point. Let me just append it there. Tab, I should do something after the tab. So tab actually advances to the next available 8th position. So there are some positions occupied here, and if we count to the 8th of each, this is the 8th. It's like 16th or 32nd or 24th. You can count exactly which one it is. Honestly, I never use tab for advancing, creating blank spaces. All right, and that's it with the escape characters, and I think we have one more ingredient to talk about. I did show you examples of concatenating strings. We need to talk a little bit about format. This is formatting a numeric value in a certain way. So this, for example, means format number, keep 2 decimals. So let me do a new file, and this is format. How is this useful? I'll say cost equals to $2.11. I'd say tax equals to 0.1, that is 10% tax. And another variable, cost with tax, will be, guess what? Cost plus cost. I'll do it in this way, cost plus cost times tax. And I will print, I'll call it cost with tax. And my variable cost with tax. All right, so the cost of something was $2.11, tax was 0.1, and cost with tax is what we calculate and print. That was an easier formula to do this, but whatever. Okay. Why I'm showing this, we'll see a problem. Cost with tax, oopsie. So this basically means 0.1, and that is unintentionally me showing you the rounding problem. So the numbers are actually stored in a binary form. So cost 2.11 is not stored precisely in the float format. It is stored approximately with a binary approximation. So when we did the computation over here, we have binary approximation. And this is pretty much means 1. So, and that would be the correct answer, 2.3201. Don't panic, this is a very, very tiny error, but you need to be aware of those things when working with floats. In any case, I got my correct answer, and it doesn't look like dollar value. So for dollar value, I probably want to round it or format it in a convenient way. So this is where the rounding comes in. So it will be $2.32. That's what I would want it to be. Dollars. I'll just put a dollar sign. All right, and that's where I want to use format. So I want to format this variable for the purpose of printing. I can do it inline, or I can do it yet again cost with tux. This will be format. Format, value, format specification. So my value will be cost with tux, and my specification, I only need to float in points. So this would be my specification, apostrophe.2f apostrophe. Nobody really remembers what this means, only people who use it regularly or people who need it for a quiz. All right. In any case, I need to have my formatted cost with tux variable. So this may be a little bit of a too explicit name, but I'm trying to make a point that names should be talking to you. Formatted cost. Oh, typo. Okay, let's reopen the idle. Run. Cost with tux $232. Yeah, all is well. And an extra challenge here, how would you get rid of the blank space here? I will not delete this. I will comment better print, and you can think how to modify this line in order for me not to have blank space. This is how you do it. I add sep nothing. That's one way to do it. I mean, maybe not the best way. Blank space here, blank space, no blank space here, and I think that will do the trick. Nope. My sep is supposed, yeah, I did not actually do blank space. Okay, now this is good. Cost with tux, and we don't have a blank space anymore, so that's what I wanted. With separator nothing, I have to change my string to include explicitly the blank spaces where I wanted them. But I think this would be a nicer printing statement. Well, let me check. I said everything I wanted to say. I did a similar problem like this, and maybe I want to show you how to add numbers. So this is a nice little tiny challenge here. You may, if you're very much a beginner, this is a good program for you to do and to overcome an issue, so that most likely you will have. And again, just typing up the code, there will be 1, 2, 3, or 4 lines of code. That's not a big deal, and the interesting part is before you actually type code or after you type code. Remember this loop about that I showed you earlier about designing, coding, then testing, finding various kinds of errors, and testing. So stop the video here and do this yourself. This is a rather similar contraption. And finally, you can try on, if you have more experience, maybe some of this will be rather easy for you. Those are not included in our regular curriculum, but nice little problems. If you do them from scratch, you are really cool. Okay, well, from scratch means, okay, if you do them, you're cool. Okay, anyway, let me go back to the program about adding numbers. I'll just show you the program. Add numbers, sum two numbers. Notice float input, nested function calls. First of all, I'm asking for input. Then I'm immediately converting it from string format to float and saving it as the first number, and then as the second number. And I'm computing my total and printing my total. All right. First number 5, second number 2. Your sum is 7.0, and it also says bye for no reason. Okay. So this is a little program like many of these programs around, and you're welcome to start your homework right now. That's it for the week. Let me know if you have any questions.